It's bigger than Vatican City itself. Two popes have died in the very same room. A war once turned the Pope's own bed into a delivery room. And somewhere on its grounds, right now, there's a horse that belongs to Pope Leo XIV. This is Castel Gandolfo, the summer residence of the popes for 400 years. And today, we're going inside. Every July, when the heat in Rome becomes unbearable, the Pope leaves the Vatican and travels about 25 kilometers southeast, into the Alban Hills. There, on the edge of a volcanic lake, sits a small town of fewer than 9,000 people, and a papal estate with more history packed into it than almost anywhere else on earth. Popes have prayed there. Popes have ruled from there. Popes have died there. And in the summer of 2026, Pope Leo XIV moved back in, restoring a tradition that had quietly disappeared for over a decade. So let's count down 10 things about this place that most people, even practicing Catholics, have never heard. Number 1. It's bigger than Vatican City itself. Let's start with something that sounds almost unbelievable. The pontifical villas of Castel Gandolfo cover around 55 hectares. That's more than 130 acres. Vatican City, the smallest sovereign state in the world, covers only about 44 hectares. Read that again. The Pope's summer home is physically larger than his own country. Inside those 55 hectares, you'll find the Apostolic Palace itself, the Villa Barberini, formal Renaissance gardens, woodland, vineyards, a working farm, even an astronomical observatory. It's less a house and more a small, self-contained world. Number 2. The Vatican has owned it since 1596, but it took decades to become a papal retreat. The story of Castel Gandolfo as church property actually begins over 400 years ago, in 1596, when the land came into the Vatican's possession. But it wasn't until the 1620s that it became what we know today, when Pope Urban VIII chose these gentle, vine-covered hills as his personal summer retreat. From that moment on, it became something like an unwritten tradition. Of the roughly 30 popes who've reigned since Urban VIII, about half have spent time here, escaping the Roman heat the same way ordinary Italians still do, by heading for the hills. Number 3. 2 popes died in the very same bedroom. Here's where the history gets heavier. In 1958, Pope Pius XII died inside the Apostolic Palace. 20 years later, in 1978, Pope Paul VI died in that exact same room. For the people of the town, this isn't just a historical footnote. It's a living memory. One local shopkeeper, whose family has run the same bar in the town square since 1870, still remembers being a child on the evening of August 6, 1978. He recalls seeing an ambulance rush in, and half an hour later, hearing the bells begin to toll. His father turned to him and said, "This is the bell that rings when the Pope dies." That night, Paul VI had died just meters from where that boy stood. Number 4. During World War II, the Pope's own bed became a delivery room. If you think that room's history couldn't get any heavier, it does. In 1944, as fighting tore through the Alban Hills, thousands of people fled toward the papal villas seeking safety. Pope Pius XII opened the doors. By the time Rome was liberated on June 4th of that year, he had sheltered more than 12,000 refugees inside the estate. Among them were pregnant women with nowhere else to turn. According to the Vatican's own account, an estimated 40 babies were born there during that time, some, remarkably, on the Pope's own bed. To this day, locals affectionately call them the Pope's children. It's a strange and beautiful detail. A room built for a pope's rest became, for a season, a room where new life began. Number 5. It has its own astronomical observatory, one of the oldest in the world. Now for something most people never expect to find inside a papal residence: a working astronomical observatory. Its roots actually go back to the Gregorian calendar reform in the 1580s, but the modern Vatican Observatory was formally refounded in 1891 by Pope Leo XIII, specifically to push back against the old myth that the Church was hostile to science. By the 1930s, the growing lights of Rome had made the sky too bright to observe from the Vatican itself, so Pope Pius XI moved the observatory here to Castel Gandolfo, where the two Barberini domes still stand today, each housing telescopes installed in 1935 and still in working order. Carved into a wall inside one of those domes is the observatory's motto, words spoken by Pius XI himself at its inauguration: Deum Creatorem venite adoremus. Come, let us adore God the Creator. Nearly a century later, Jesuit priests and brothers still work there, studying meteorites, distant galaxies, and the possibility of life on other worlds, all from the Pope's backyard. Number 6. For nearly a decade, no Pope lived there at all. Which brings us to a real turning point in this story. For almost 400 years, going back to Urban VIII, there was really only one interruption to this tradition, and it happened in our own lifetime. Pope Francis simply chose not to come. He preferred to spend his summers at the Vatican, in the guest house where he lived throughout his pontificate. In 2016, he went a step further and opened the Apostolic Palace to the public as a museum, the private rooms of popes, suddenly available for anyone to walk through and photograph. It was a meaningful gesture in its own right, but it also meant that, for the first time since the days of Pius XI, Castel Gandolfo stopped being a living papal residence and became, instead, a memory of one. Number 7. Pope Leo XIV just brought that tradition back. And that's exactly why the summer of 2026 matters so much. On July 5th, Pope Leo XIV traveled to Castel Gandolfo to begin several weeks of rest, and this time, for the first time in his pontificate, he settled into the Apostolic Palace itself, not the nearby Villa Barberini where he'd stayed the summer before. Arriving that evening, he greeted the crowd waiting for him with visible warmth. "I am very happy to be here among you," he said, "to be able to spend the coming weeks with a bit of rest, a bit of prayer, a bit of reading, and I hope, a bit of sport." It's a small sentence, but it says a lot. This is a pope choosing, deliberately, to pick up a 400-year-old habit that his predecessor had let go. Number 8. The Pope has his own horse there, and he actually rides it. Here's a lighter one. Tucked into the estate's stables is a horse named Salaroso, Italian for full of life. It belongs, in a sense, to the Pope himself, and Leo XIV rides it regularly during his stays. It fits the picture that's emerged of this Pope's rhythm at Castel Gandolfo: tennis, swimming, horseback riding, the bit of sport he mentioned on his very first evening there. For a man who used to go to the gym in Rome 3 times a week, these grounds are as much about physical renewal as spiritual rest. Number 9. Part of the estate has become a training ground for the poor. Not everything about Castel Gandolfo is about the Pope's own rest. A significant part of the grounds, known as the Borgo Laudato Si, was opened by Pope Francis as an ecological project and training center, and Leo XIV has continued it. Here, migrants and people in vulnerable situations are trained in gardening, cooking, and sustainable living. with a goal of training around 1,000 people a year. The site runs on a zero-waste system, with solar-powered classrooms and a state-of-the-art greenhouse. One coordinator described the effect on participants simply as overwhelming. Many, she said, rediscover a sense of meaning in their lives just by being there. The historic papal farm, which for generations grew food exclusively for the Pope's table, now feeds everyone who comes through. And by the end of 2026, the Vatican planned to open its very first on-site restaurant, serving both Italian dishes and, as a nod to Leo's own upbringing, Chicago-style hot dogs and deep-dish pizza. Number 10. The town itself has been waiting for this for years. And then there's the town. Castel Gandolfo has fewer than 9,000 residents, and for years, when the Apostolic Palace sat empty of popes, the town felt that absence directly. Fewer pilgrims, fewer visitors, a quieter kind of life along the lake. One resident, reflecting on Pope John Paul II's deep attachment to this place, put it simply, "He is our history. He is our family. He belongs to us." That sentiment hasn't gone away. It's just been waiting. Now, with Leo XIV settling back into the Apostolic Palace for the full summer, residents describe something like excitement returning to their streets. Pilgrims from around the world, once again gathering in the Piazza della Libertà for the Sunday Angelus, the way generations before them once did for John Paul II, for Paul VI, for Pius XII. 400 years. 10 popes worth of memory. A place bigger than the Vatican itself, holding everything from a delivery room turned deathbed, to a working observatory, to a horse named Full of Life. So the next time you hear that the Pope is on vacation, you'll know exactly where he's gone, and just how much history is quietly waiting for him there. If this gave you a new appreciation for a place you'd maybe never even heard of before today, hit like and let me know in the comments. Which of these 10 surprised you the most? Follow Catholic Snack for more moments from the life of the Church. And if you'd like to support what we do here, there's a link below to join and help keep these videos coming.